and making this easy herringbone pattern necklace with a little gemstone surprise. Check out the description below for a list of materials. Go ahead and gather all the supplies you're going to need, and then we'll get started. We're going to start this project by making a pattern length of flat herringbone. I have a sample piece here, and so you can see what these beads look like when I put them next to each other. I've got two colors of 11-0, and this is the vintage copper, and then I have a Picasso color, and then I have a black matte AB. You can see that here. And then my 6-0, this is an 8-0, and then my 6-0 here is just a galvanized silver. I'm not going to do this pattern exactly, but I wanted to test and see how these colors looked together. Now, as you work this flat herringbone, you can really do any pattern that you want. I'm just going to show you the pattern that I like and what I recommend if this is going to be your first time doing this project. So I've got a comfortable length of beading thread here, which is typically about 5 feet for me. And then I have a stop bead at the end. I'm picking up that stop bead in the first color of my pattern. I'm going to pick up 3 more beads and just let these fall down to my stop bead. Pass up through your stop bead and the bead right next to it. And as you pull your thread, the 2 beads that you didn't pass through will sit right next to the 2 beads that you did. So you should have 2 little beads here, and right next to them, 2 little beads. So you've got almost looks like 2 little people standing next to each other. Now I'm going to start my herringbone here. This was just kind of getting it set up. And I'm going to have to think about the color pattern that I want, but the pattern or the technique, the stitch to do the herringbone is going to remain the same. I'm going to pick up 2 more beads, and I'm going to pass down through the 2 beads where my thread is not coming out. So for me, that's on the right here, and pull my thread and needle towards me. I'm going to then skip 1 bead and pass through the next 2 beads, taking that needle and thread away from me. And now I like to flip this every other stitch because I want the thread to be coming out of the beads on the left side. That just makes it easier for me because I'm right-handed. So I'm going to flip this project back and forth so that I always have my thread coming out on the beads on that left side, so I can work with my right and go down through the beads on the right. And I'm going to pick up another 2 beads here. Go down through 2 beads on the right. Nope. Getting caught on some tools around here. So don't worry, I'll do this again. So I've gone down through the 2 beads on the right. I'm going to skip that 1 bead that my thread's coming out of at the bottom and go through the top 2 beads on the right. I'm going to use this color one more time, pick up 2 beads, and again, I'm flipping the project because it's easier for me to work like this, and go down through 2 beads on the right. Skip 1 bead and then go up through the end or last 2 beads on the right. And I like to hold these beads tight so that I can pull my thread tight and make sure I don't have any slack in my thread as I work. So I'm going to continue on here with another color. So again, just always picking up 2 beads, going down through 2 beads, skip 1, and then go up through 2. And then if you're like me, we're going to switch. And we're going to pick up another 2, down through 2, skip 1, and up through 2. So this is essentially the whole stitch that you're going to, or the complete stitch that you're going to use for the herringbone rope. But we are going to switch it up a little bit with the sizes. So I will show you as I switch to different sizes, and you'll notice that it's the exact same thing, but I want to show you what that looks like just so that as you're working on it, you know that you're doing it correctly if yours looks like mine. So I'm going to work just a little bit more here with the 11 O's, and then I'm going to start adding in the 8 O's. The pattern that I have happening right now is 5 of these copper beads, and then a strip of 2 of my alternate color, and then another 5 of my copper. And I like this look here. I like this thin strip breaking up the longer strip of color here. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to my 8 O's. So again, coming out of that right, or I'm going to flip it here, coming out of the left side, because I'm right-handed, so I like to do it this way. I'm going to just pick up 2 of my 8 O's and go down through 2 beads. And it will look a little bit different just because you are working with different size beads, but it doesn't change the pattern at all. Skip through 1 bead and go up through 2. So I'll be going up through the 11 O first and then the 8 O. And you want to make sure that that if you look down, you can always see the holes here in your beads. You just want to make sure that those holes are all lined up. And now here I'm going to flip, and I'm going to add more 8 O's. So 2 more 8 O's, down through 2 beads on the right. And I like to kind of push those down just to get them flat the way that I want them. And then up through 2 beads. So I'm going to skip that 11 and go up through the 2 8s. Oops. Okay, there we go, and managed not to get that tangled. And again here. So here's where you can decide what kind of pattern you want to do. I would not recommend jumping out of size order with the beads in the pattern. So I wouldn't go from an 11 to a 6, and vice versa, because it's gonna kind of throw things out of whack. You want to have it nice and the size is graduated. So lay them out in the size order, just so that you know as you work which ones are bigger. Even though you can see it's pretty obvious, it's nice just to not get confused and to keep your colors in the order that you'd want to work in them. So I'm going to do 3 here of my 8 O's, and then I'm going to move on to my 6 O's. So again, same idea here, where we're just going to pick up 2 of those 6 O's, go down through 2 8 O's, skip an 8, and we're going to go up through an 8 and a 6. And flip, and now you can see there's quite a size difference between the 6s and the 8s, more so than between the 11s and the 8s. So down through 2, skip the 8 O and go up through 2 of the 6 O's. And flip here, and another 2 of my 6 O's, down through 2 6 O's, skip a bead and up through the last 2 6 O's. So if you want a shorter pattern like this, here you can see each section of my color and bead size was more elongated. I want to keep this shorter so that it has a little bit more of like that undulating look to it. So I'm now going to switch back to the 8 O's and go down through 2 beads, skip and go up through 2. Make sure you're passing through in that right direction. Pick up another 2 8 O's and down through 2. And then up through 2. And And I'm going to keep this pattern simple, and I'm just going to mirror exactly what I've done previously with whatever color and size I'm working with. So down through 2, skip, and up through 2. And now I'm ready to move on to the 11-O's, and I'm going to continue this in the same way. And I'm going to continue with this pattern on the other side here, and just keep going with this pattern until I've reached a pretty good length. I want to do about half of the necklace, and then I will do something kind of different in the center, and then I'll continue with the rest of the necklace going up the other side. At some point in your necklace, you may want to add something that is going to add a little bit more interest and deviate from this pattern. So I'm going to show you here how to add some gemstones into the center of it. And you can do this really at any point. I'm going to do just one section of gemstones to kind of have that stand out, but you can do this, like I said, really at any point. So here I have my 6/0 seed beads, and I just added these, and so I'm in a position here where my thread is coming out of one of those top 6/0 seed beads. I have some 6mm gemstones, and this is African turquoise. I'm going to start by just picking up these stones, just basically stringing them, and I'm going to put a little seed bead in between just to add a little bit of that color. And I also like that look of having the seed beads spaced a little bit apart. It gives it a look sort of like they're knotted. So I'm going to add these guys on here. And you can do this with a 6 or an 8mm. I'm using a 6. You could also try the 8mm. You just want it to look appropriate for the size of your necklace. You can also make this section as long or short as you want. And once you see how to do this, you may also want to try something like just adding 1 or 2 seed beads, or sorry, 1 or 2 gemstones periodically here in between all of your 6/0 sections. So here I have my strong 6mm beads, and I'm going to now end with just one gemstone. I'm not picking up a seed bead, not picking up one of those 11-O's. They're just between the gemstones. And now I'm going to pick up 2 of my 6/0 seed beads. And I'm going to pass through my gemstones and all the seed beads until I get to the other side and the other set of 6/0 seed beads. And you can see if I pull tight, those 6/0 seed beads sit flat right next to each other and kind of mimic what was happening with the herringbone on the other side. So I'm just passing through all of these stones. And of course I'm using gemstones here, but you can use any kind of material, any bead that you want. Crystal might be fun in here as well. So now I just pass through all the gemstones and make a pull here, get it nice and tight. And you can see my thread on this end is coming out of just one side of my herringbone. So I'm going to go through the other side where my thread isn't coming out. So I've got one thread now coming out one side and one thread going in the other side of the herringbone. And I went ahead and passed through all 3 of those 6/0s. And I'm going to then hop over to the other set, or the other side of my herringbone, and go through those 6/0s. And again, back through the seed beads and the gemstones. So just passing through all these beads and being careful to pick up those seed beads as you go through again, because it can be very easy to accidentally skip over them and just go gemstone to gemstone, but then you're going to end up with that thread on the outside, which you don't want. So now I'm in position here to pick up and start with my herringbone again. So you can see here, I've added just a short little section here of 6mm gemstones, and I'm ready here to now pick up my 6/0s again and continue with the pattern that I have over here, just going up the other side. So you can do this either offset, or you can do this in the center, really kind of just where you want it to be. I like the asymmetrical look, so I made you that on this one here and have this sort of off to the side, and then have this going up like that. I like the look of this sort of off to the side. If I'm wearing like a plain shirt, it gives a little bit more interest. So the herringbone here, we'll just get started on that. I'm going to go through the 1/6/0. And since I've only got 2 beads here, I'm going to pick up another 2 beads. And I'm going to go down through the other side. And because I'm just starting, I'm going to cross over to the other side here and go up. I'm not going to skip a bead and go up 2, because I don't have those beads there to do that. So I'm just kind of going around the beads that I already have and come down the other side. So now that I'm in position where I actually do have a bead to skip here, I'm going to skip that bead, go up through 1, and pick up 2 more beads, and go down through 2. And now I'm back to herringbone as I've been doing it, and my pattern is now back to where it is, nothing changed. Or back to where I can follow the same pattern that I've been doing. So I'm going to go ahead and continue here and keep working on this on the other side here. I might make it the same length. I might make it a little bit different and do something like that asymmetrical look. Haven't decided yet. So I'll continue working on this and I'll let you know. I've now finished the length of my necklace. I have the section here in the center where I added my gemstones, and then the sides I made the same length here. And now I just need to add a clasp. So here, I'm going to show you here how I ended each side to prepare for the clasp. I wanted to put a cup button on. So what I decided to do was, because I wanted to end with the 11/0s, with the thinnest part of the herringbone, I decided I'd put a cup button here on one side and then do the loop for the cup button on the other side. So what I've done here is I've left one side, or one end, longer, and I've done the complete pattern here. You can see that's my typical pattern for the 11/0s. So I've ended like that. And then the other side here, I ended just at the center here, because when I add my seed beads for the loop, I'm going to add them in this color, the same as my 11/0s here. So it'll look the same. It'll kind of help to bring some continuity to the design there at the end. So first thing I'm going to do is add my cup button on. And to do this, I'm going to use the thread that I already have attached at the end here. If it's not long enough, you can always add some thread on, but if you've left a long enough piece of tail thread, then you can go ahead and just put a needle on that tail thread and use that. And pull that through. So I've got just a little bitty bit of tail thread, so hopefully I'll have enough. I'm just going to pick up my cup button and go through the one side, and then pick up a couple beads here. Let me pick up an 11. I'll pick up one of my 8/0s, a blue, and then another 11, and go down through the other hole of my cup button. Oops. See, my, my tail thread's a little too short for this. So I actually just pulled it off. Let me put it back on here and be a little bit more careful moving forward. Okay, so now I've got the cup button on there, and I'm going to go through down through the other side of the herringbone, through 2 or 3 beads there, just to get that anchored on, and then go up through the other side of the herringbone. I'm really pushing it with my tail thread here. I should have probably just cut myself a new piece, but I'm pretty stubborn, so I'm going to make it work. And I'm going to go through those beads inside the cup button and the cup button. And now I'm just going to come out through some of those beads in my herringbone, and I'm ready to tie off my thread. Now you can reinforce this another time if you want. Honestly, if I had a little bit more thread here, I probably would have gone through another time, but 2 times will be enough. 2 times is probably the minimum, and then if you want to go through again, that's just even better. It's just going to be even more secure. So that's how I ended it on this side. And now on the other side here, I'm going to add a loop for my cup buttons, or my cup button. We just have one cup button over here, so I'm going to create a loop. And the reason why I stopped a little short here of the design is because when I use these, oops, let's bring these guys down here. When I pick up these seed beads to make the loop, it'll sort of mimic the rest of the design, the other half of my pattern here. So I was fine with cutting that pattern a little short. So you're going to start out here by picking up about 28 beads. So I've got 20 here, and I'm going to pick up another 8. And then I want to test this. I want to make sure that this is the size that I need. So I can go down through just 1/11 here on the other side of my herringbone and just hold that tight and test this out and see if that's a good size. So that is, I could actually maybe take it down and do 27, but about 28 beads is going to be good. So now that I know that that loop is the right size, I'm going to go down through another seed bead here in my herringbone. So for me, it's going to be just these 2 turquoise beads that I have. And I'm going to go up through the other side, up through the other side of the herringbone, and through all the beads in my loop for my cup button. And the only reason why I'm doing this is to reinforce it, because you're going to be tugging on this and you're going to have the weight of the cup button and the necklace hanging on this loop. You want to make sure that it's got some extra thread running through there just for that security. So here, now that I've gone through twice, that should be pretty secure. And all I have to do is tie off my thread. And you can see here that I now have the cup button end and my end with the loop. And now you can see why I stopped that pattern a little bit short, because I knew that I was going to continue with that color. And I think it just makes the design look a little more continuous, and it looks very much right where it should be in the pattern. So there you go. Now, if you make it long enough, you don't have to actually add any kind of cup button or closure. You can just bring the 2 ends of herringbone together, stitch those together, and then you can just throw this over your head. Hope you have a fun time making this necklace. So many different varieties so many different takes on this with doing it long enough to go over your head, different colors, different patterns of the herringbone here, and inserting different beads if you want to do gemstones, glass, crystals, or even try 2-hole beads. So hop on Facebook and show us what you make. If you enjoyed this video, please comment below and let us know your thoughts. You can also subscribe to our channel to be notified as soon as we have more beading tutorials out that you will enjoy probably just as much as you enjoyed this one.